so I didn't give Serrano's photographs a second thought. Not, that is, until 10 months later, in the spring of 1989, when I watched wide-eyed with the rest of the country as the Reverend Donald Wildman, the conservative evangelical minister from Tupelo, Mississippi, and the founder of the old National Federation of Decency, lit out after Serrano as if he were the devil incarnate and pissed Christ the gaping maw of hell. What could Wildman and his friends in Congress possibly have found in Serrano's flashy but rather fatuous photograph to incite such evil-minded wrath? The charge that they lodged against Serrano was, of course, blasphemy against the Christian faith. But for me, Serrano's photograph was about something else entirely. The ability of a camera to lie, falsify, fabricate, and mislead, all in the most glamorous and convincing way, is the artistic pivot around which Serrano's art turns, just as it is for many other artists who work with photography. Camera images conceal at least as much as they reveal, a condition that is long since a given for postmodern art. As for spiritual blasphemy, Piss Christ does speak ill, but it speaks ill of the camera's capacity to lie, even in the face of a sacred subject. As a picture, the photograph is all slick technicolor splendor, achieved in the controlled environment of the artist's studio, in exactly the same way that it is at Paramount, Universal, or MGM, which is to say with the aid of props, carefully orchestrated lighting, and colored gels. The background field of the photograph, of the radiant ultra-sized photograph, is a deep, rich crimson. The crucifixion rising before it is irradiated with a golden glow. Tiny bubbles proliferate across the picture's surface, as if the tortured body of Christ is being seen submerged in the translucent blood of his spectacular passion. In fact, I would submit to you that unless you know in advance the title of the photograph or the artist's method of making it, that there is absolutely nothing about Piss Christ that could possibly offend. There is virtually nothing that meets your eye in this image that tells you that the picture was made by photographing a carefully lit dime store plastic crucifix propped inside a small glass container filled with the artist's urine. This extra visual revelation of the subject's actual tawdriness and debasement, a revelation that comes only with knowing the title and perhaps by doing some investigation into how the picture was made, is critical to Serrano's enterprise. He wants you to be visually tempted, visually seduced, visually taken in by a sacred image. Hence his use of slick modern styles associated with Hollywood and advertising. Then, upon further inquiry, he wants you to be smacked across the face with the sorry news of what actually went on behind the camera's duplicitous lens. Now, why would Serrano want such a thing? Why would he want you to be seduced, then abandoned? Especially in regard to camera images associated with Christianity. Well, remember, Piss Christ was made in 1987. That was the banner year for public exposure of shocking humiliations in a brand new form of religious enterprise, one that was based on the deceptive power of the camera. I'm talking, of course, about the new phenomenon of evangelical ministries on television, which had blossomed in the previous 10 years into very rich, very powerful empires. In 1987, though, Televangelism was teetering on the brink of total collapse in the wake of a series of trashy sex and money scandals. As vulgar stories of hypocrisy and even criminality were unfolding in the press, the entire nation was held in thrall. For months, the center of the modern media circus was held by Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker. The pair were dragged blubbering from their lofty throne atop television's PTL club by Jimmy Swaggart, their pious rival in the televised fire and brimstone trade. Jim Bakker was soon convicted of fraud and sent up the river, while Tammy Faye was sent to a rehab clinic. In no time at all, Jimmy Swaggart himself was sent packing, with prostitute problems of his own. From the sidelines, Jerry Falwell was scolding the other's antics, and he even briefly took the reins. And he